Welcome to our channel Psyverge. Why do the ruthless rise? Why is it that in a world full of good intentions, it's often the cold, calculating, and unapologetically bold who seem to come out on top? Is morality a virtue, or a carefully constructed illusion to keep the powerful in check, while they break the rules behind closed doors? In a society obsessed with kindness, empathy, and compromise, Nietzsche offers a disturbing, yet brutally honest answer. The powerful are not good because they are moral. They are powerful because they are willing to transcend morality. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher often misunderstood as nihilistic or cynical, did not just critique modern values, he dismantled them. In his eyes, conventional morality, especially Christian morality, was a tool invented by the weak to control the strong. He called it slave morality, a moral code that glorified humility, self-sacrifice, and meekness, not because these were admirable traits, but because they served to shame and restrain those with natural strength, ambition, and will. It wasn't born from a love of goodness, but from resentment, a deep, psychological reaction to powerlessness. So what happens when someone refuses to be shackled by that system? What happens when someone stops playing by the rules of the herd? They begin to ascend. Not because they are evil, but because they are honest about human nature. They do what most people are too afraid to admit they want. They pursue dominance, influence, and control. They understand that power is not given, it's taken. And Nietzsche believed that those who truly live, those who create, shape, and lead, are the ones willing to impose their will on the world. Think about history. The most impactful figures, for better or worse, have never been the most agreeable. They've been divisive, bold, even cruel. From emperors to CEOs, revolutionaries to visionaries, the pattern repeats. The ruthless win not despite their ruthlessness, but because of it. Nietzsche didn't just observe this pattern. He embraced it as a truth about life itself. He called this the will to power, the fundamental driving force of all living beings. It's not survival, it's not pleasure. It's the desire to grow, to assert, to expand, to dominate, not in a petty way, but as a fundamental expression of life's vitality. Ruthlessness, then, is not a moral failure in Nietzsche's view. It is a kind of evolutionary necessity. The lion does not apologize to the antelope. Nature is not fair. It is brutal, selective, and indifferent. And yet, we pretend society should operate on ideals that deny this basic reality. Nietzsche's question was, why? Why do we elevate weakness to a virtue? Why do we shame strength, power, confidence, and even aggression, when they are the very traits that built civilizations? The answer lies in psychology. Human beings are social animals, but we are also hierarchical. Deep down, we know who's dominant. We feel it in a room before a word is spoken. Ruthless individuals understand this primal wiring. They exploit it. They speak with certainty, act with conviction, and refuse to bend their identity to please others. They trigger admiration, fear, envy, but above all, respect. That respect turns into influence, and influence turns into power. But Nietzsche's philosophy goes deeper. He believed that the herd, the collective masses, fear the truly independent individual, the one who dares to define their own values, the one who is willing to be hated rather than be fake. He called this rare type of person the Übermensch, the overman. Not a tyrant, but someone who has transcended societal conditioning. The Übermensch does not follow the crowd. He creates his own path, writes his own rules, and lives beyond good and evil, not in cruelty for its own sake, but in a higher commitment to truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable. Ruthlessness, then, is not always about cruelty. It is about clarity. The clarity to say no when others expect yes. The clarity to cut off toxic relationships, reject mediocrity, and challenge the status quo. In a world addicted to validation, the ruthless are immune. They don't chase approval. They chase results. And this brings us to a harsh paradox. The more you care about being liked, the more powerless you become. Nietzsche saw this as the great tragedy of modern man. His need for acceptance becomes his chain. He becomes agreeable, passive, hesitant. He sacrifices authenticity for comfort. Meanwhile, the ruthless rise, Not because they lack empathy, but because they do not allow empathy to override ambition. Does this mean morality is worthless? Not quite. Nietzsche wasn't advocating for chaos or psychopathy. What he detested was hypocritical morality, the kind that preaches kindness but masks jealousy, the kind that praises humility but resents greatness. He wanted us to be honest about our drives, our instincts, our hunger for power, and in doing so, reclaim our agency. Psychologically, we can understand this through the concept of the shadow self, as later expanded by Carl Jung. The parts of us we repress, our aggression, ambition, dominance, don't disappear. They fester. The person who denies their shadow becomes anxious, indecisive, secretly resentful. But the one who integrates it, who channels their darker impulses with awareness, becomes formidable. This is the ruthless individual Nietzsche admired. Not a mindless brute, but someone who has faced their inner chaos and come out stronger. This is why nice people often finish last. Not because goodness is weak, but because performative goodness is. The ruthless don't pretend. They don't smile when they want to say no. They don't play small to make others comfortable. They assert. They move. They lead. And while others wrestle with guilt and overthinking, the ruthless act. But here's the deeper insight. Ruthlessness, when married with purpose, becomes leadership. The people who change the world are not the most compassionate. They are the most committed. They are willing to make hard choices, to face hatred, to carry burdens others refuse to lift. Nietzsche didn't glorify cruelty. He glorified strength. The strength to stand alone, to bear the weight of independence, to live without excuses. That is what makes the ruthless so powerful. They are willing to carry the psychological cost of being real in a world full of masks. So the next time you wonder why the ruthless win, remember, it's not an accident. It's not a glitch in the system. It's the system underneath the system. It's human nature, stripped of illusions. Power goes to those who are willing to take it, not wait for it. And while society teaches us to be soft, polite, and agreeable, Nietzsche reminds us of a darker, deeper truth. The world is not ruled by the gentle. It is ruled by those who embrace their will to power and refuse to apologize for it. The lesson isn't to become cruel. It's to become real. To stop hiding your ambition. To stop shrinking to fit in. To stop living under the illusion that goodness alone guarantees success. In Nietzsche's eyes, to win is to will. And those who are willing to confront the truth of human nature without flinching are the ones who rise above it. Because in the end, power does not corrupt, it reveals. And the ruthless, for all their flaws, are simply more honest about what they truly want. So, what do they want? At the core, it's not just money or fame or control. It's freedom. The freedom to shape reality. The freedom to act without begging for permission. The freedom to live without compromise. That's the true desire hidden behind ruthlessness. Liberation from the suffocating expectations of society. Most people are prisoners, and don't even realize it. Prisoners to opinions, to traditions, to their own fear of failure. Nietzsche saw this as a psychological illness, a kind of spiritual decay. People numb themselves with morality, with distractions, with routines. They fear chaos, so they submit to order, even if that order is meaningless. The ruthless, on the other hand, embrace the chaos. They surf it. They don't seek comfort. They seek conquest, not of others necessarily, but of themselves. Nietzsche warned us about the last man, the person who seeks only pleasure, security, and mediocrity, the one who avoids conflict, avoids passion, avoids anything that threatens their little bubble of comfort. The last man is everywhere today, on your screens, in your workplace, maybe even in your mirror. He is harmless, he is peaceful, and he is powerless. The ruthless are the opposite. They are not interested in comfort. They are interested in becoming, because becoming, truly evolving, requires sacrifice, not just of time or effort, but of identity. It means shedding the masks. It means being willing to be disliked, misunderstood, even hated. And that's where most people stop. They want greatness, but not the pain that comes with it. They want freedom, but not the loneliness. They want influence, but not the responsibility. But the ruthless, they accept it all. They know that rising above the herd means being targeted by it. They know that if you don't conform, you'll be condemned, but they go on anyway. Because to them, living small is a fate worse than death. Psychologically, we might call this anti-fragility. The ruthless are not just resilient, they grow from pressure. Rejection makes them sharper, opposition makes them stronger. They're not addicted to praise because they've trained themselves to thrive in adversity. And in a world that teaches us to avoid conflict, that's a superpower. Nietzsche didn't want everyone to be ruthless. He knew most people couldn't handle it. But he challenged us to ask, who are you really when you drop the act? When you strip away the social filters, the polite scripts, the fake smiles, what remains? Are you living a life of quiet compliance, or are you creating something that matters?